Mr. Minnick helping students review for the Python midterm exam here in this Intro to Computer Science course. Number one, which of the following keywords is used to create a function? You should know that a keyword is one of those words that's a special color in the software. We use Replit, and DEF is a keyword. ELIF is a keyword. FUNC, that's just a made-up wrong answer. That's not even eligible. Import is a keyword. But which one has to do with functions? DEF does. You should know DEF, perhaps like draw square would be the name of a function maybe in a good, nicely organized Python program. Number two, if it's a horizontal line, that means it goes sort of sideways like that. That means on this y-axis right here, that the point such as, say, the point 50 on that y-axis, that point 50, it is in common to both endpoints of this line segment. This point right here looks like it might be the point 50, comma 50. This point looks like it might be the point 100 here on this axis, but vertically it's at this point 50. Both y coordinates would be the same here, and it looks like this right here is the only pair of points that has the same y coordinate, that second coordinate. So that's the answer to a horizontal line. There is a pattern for vertical lines. I don't want to get into it, but that would be a whole different exercise. Number three, if you misspell a keyword like up in part number one, that DEF, if you misspelled it and spelled it like DIF, diff, that would be what we call a syntax error. Some teachers call it a compile error. Either way, it's the answer is C. When you misspell a built-in keyword to the Python programming language. Number four, in this course, the way I teach it, there are these 5 steps of the programming process. Some teachers, professors, or people out there in the real world of industry, they have different number of steps, but usually it's like a handful of steps, anywhere from 3 to 7 I've seen. I have 5. There's a poster on the wall of my classroom that lists them. It's also in my notes and all over the place. Anyway, people who are studied for this course already know that the first step is to understand the task at hand. And that is not listed here as one of these options, A, B, and C, so the answer ends up being D, none of the above. Understand is not there. Number 5, data types. We didn't study data types a lot this year, but a little tiny bit. String data types, the string data type for a variable stores words, or even a number like your zip code, perhaps 90210. Beverly Hills, 90210, that would be more of a string than it would be an integer. But int, and there's this data type called float. That is a data type. Int, or sometimes called integer, string, and float are 3 common data types. But the one that stores words is called string. Currency is not a data type in Python. It's a made-up wrong answer there. Okay, this next section, you should be able to do a little bit of math on the day of the exam for this course. If you don't know what the percent symbol means or the double asterisk, look it up in our notes. But according to order of operations, you must do the exponent operator first, which means that 2 raised to the second power, which is what the double star means. That simplifies to a 4, so all of that is really just a 4. Then you would perform the percent symbol, which we call it the remainder operator. Some people call it the mod operator or modulus or even modulo operator. It means take that 30 that you see over there to the left and divide it by 4. That's what the percent symbol kind of means. It means divide with long division, 30 divided by 4 in this case. Now when you do that division, the 4 goes in there 7 times, but you don't really care about that 7. You do the subtraction of 30 minus 28. This number down here is called the remainder. That's the final answer to 30% symbol 4. That 2 is the answer to this exercise. Next exercise, 2 forward slashes. In Python, that means division, but a special kind of division called integer division. We've studied this, we had worksheets. It means take 8 divided by 3. You're not allowed to use a calculator on my midterm exam. But if you were to use a calculator and type 8 divided by 3, it would give you an ugly decimal number, also known as a float. Up here, I talked about float. Decimal numbers are known as floats. Well, 3 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. If you were to not stop at that remainder of 2 right here, but if you were to drop this 0 down here to the right of that decimal point, and continue to divide 3 into 20 in this case and get 0.6 repeating? Well, the use of 2 forward slashes chops off those decimal numbers no matter what they are, and it does not round up to 3. No, it all gets chopped off, truncated, as I sometimes say, and the final answer here to this exercise is again 2. It has nothing to do with that 2, it's just a coincidence, but the answer is 2. 8 forward slash 3 is 2, not 2.66666. Number 3, we already saw that the double asterisk means raised to a power, so 2 to the 5th power. Well, you're not allowed to use a calculator, but you are allowed to use scratch paper. So if you want to write out 5 2s and put your little multiplication dot in there, the way perhaps a math teacher would, and figure that out. Some people, they can do that in their head. Some people, they would need to know that 2 times 2 is 4. That 4 times that 2 simplifies to 8. That 8 times that 2 is 16. And that 16 times that 2 is 32. This next exercise, 50 percent symbol 10, just like the percent symbol up here, it's the remainder of what you get from 50 divided by 10. Hey, they divide evenly. It's 5 as the quotient, but there are 0 leftovers. So that leftover 0 is the answer to that exercise. That's the remainder, it's 0. The remainder is 0. And this is one big, long, complicated problem. You must follow the order of operations here. Parentheses first. The remainder of 16 long divided by 5 would be 1. The remainder, that's 1. That raised to a first power, 10 to the first power. 10 to the raised to the first power is really just 10. And 5 times 10, following the order of operations, that's last. 5 times 10, the answer here is 50. Moving on to this section. We plug in these numbers for these variables to where they belong. The variable base is equal to 3. The variable height is equal to 8. Now we have 3 times 8, which is 24. 24 divided by this 2 is 12. The int function, the int command, takes rate, which happens to be 12.5, and it chops off the decimal places. It's kind of like this double forward slash. Int turns this floating point number, this decimal number, into an integer. So the answer ends up being, well, it's not the answer yet, but it's 12. And 12 minus 3 is 9. This code segment that you must execute, that num1 is 20. Num2 is 5. According to the order of operations, in parentheses, 20 plus 5 is 25, and 25 times that 3 puts a 75 into the variable sum, and we're asked to print sum here. If you can read behind my writing, we're printing 75 because that's where that's because that is I have the wrong tool here. We're printing sum, and at that point in the exercise, sum is equal to 75. And I'm having trouble scrolling down. So, yep, there you go. I still have a little bit of time left in this video. We're supposed to sketch this, assuming that the pen starts at the point 0, 0 on your coordinate system, which it always does. That's where a turtle starts. And a turtle always starts by facing to the right. So when you go to 50, 100, you're going from that point to the point 50, 100. Point 50, 100 would be about right there. Then after you go to that point and leave a line, you go to the point 100, 0, which would roughly, if you sketch this, would be about here. Usually on the day of the test, I give you grid paper so you don't have to sketch it out on the blank paper like this. When you do pen up, that means you're not drawing a line to the next point. The next point is 2550, which would be about there. So you just kind of like went from here to here, skipping in the air and not drawing a line. Then you put the pen down, but you go to 7550. The point 7550 would be about right here if we had accurate grid paper. Now you were here and you're going here, and the pen, by the way, is down. So the uppercase letter A is produced by this code. This section, it evaluates true or false. ASP is short for asparagus in the way I teach. If it's equal to the string no, so we have the word string no here, and we're asking overall, is it true or false with this double equal symbol? Kind of like if you had that question game assignment and you had an if statement. If no is equal to yes, well, it's not. It's false. So that answer is false. Here, broccoli not equal to no. This is the not equal to symbol we studied. Broccoli is the word yes. So we're asking if the word yes is not equal to the word no. Well, think about it. Yes, not equal to no. That's true. That's a true fact. So I circle true. Here we have an and. I sometimes teach it as a strict parent. So asparagus is equal to no. And we ask, is no equal to yes? Well, that half of it would be false. This half of it, broccoli, if broccoli is yes, yes is indeed equal to yes, that half is true. So we have a false anded with a true. It's kind of like that one kid with initials WD that doesn't like asparagus, but he does like broccoli. And his strict parent says, no, you don't get dessert because you don't eat both your asparagus and your broccoli. And yes, he was stubborn. He said, no, I still don't like asparagus. But his brother did eat both and did get the dessert. But in the case of the original student, WD, he does not get an overall true. So when you have a false anded with a true, overall, the answer is false. Sad but true story. Number one, in this section, you trace the code. The variable grade is equal to 85. Juan knows that you always start at the top. And you ask, true or false? Is 85 greater than or equal to 90? False. When you have a false in one of these if, else if situations, when you have a false, you cross out, you don't do that part right there. You trickle down to the next elif if there is one, and now Megan knows that you plug an 85 in there, grade is still 85. And you ask, is 85 greater than or equal to 80? True. As soon as you get to your first true, you do indeed execute whatever happens to be indented in that portion of the elif, of the if statement. So that's what would print. If you want to, you could put lines through this because all of that's automatically skipped since we did print one of those. This one right here, this is called a nested if statement. It's an if inside of an if. 85 in this case is not greater than or equal to 90. So because this is false, all of this gets crossed out and is ignored. And we trickle down to here. Because 85 is indeed greater than or equal to 80, this is true. Therefore, we do circle, according to the directions, we do circle the print statement right there. And we would maybe perhaps cross these out to make it clear to the teacher that they're not circled. This one has a logic error. You're supposed to explain that with a complete sentence or two or three, as explained up here in the directions. 85 ends up being greater than 70 here, and it tells the person they have a C when an 85 is usually a B in most grading systems. I'm almost finished with this. Right here, set move amount. If move amount is a constant, then you would type move amount like this, and you would set it equal to 10. Do not type it the other way around. Do not say 10 equals move amount. That would not work in any computer language I've ever studied. You can't type it that way. That's backwards. It's got to be the variable name or the constant on the left of the equals and then the number on the right. Here, the change the color of a pen, we've studied this. It's in my review materials. If the name of your turtle is pen, pen.color, blue. That would be partial credit. You'd lose a point because that word blue needs a set of double quotes around it. That's just the way Python works. Yes, that could have been red, but it wasn't. It was blue, so make sure you use the right color. Number 3, if your last name is, say, I'm just picking a random last name. Say your last name is Holst. So name equals Holst. This would be wrong because it doesn't have double quotes around it. So you need double quotes around Holst. That would be wrong because it's a proper noun. You shouldn't have made it capital. I don't know if I'd take off for that, but you should have a capital last name. Anyway, that would be a possible answer depending on what your last name actually is. Do not make your last name Obama if your last name is not Obama for the purpose of my midterm. That will mess up my grading. Okay, you should all know the 5 steps of the PP, also known as programming process. List them in order and give me a nice, good sentence for each one of them on the day of the exam. Maybe 2 sentences. Number 3, that's an if statement, but you would look up here to copy one of these if statements and keep it simple. Don't add any extra stuff to it. If num greater than 5 and num less than or equal to 10, colon, indented for good style, print the word true in double quotes. Truth chart, strict parent, easy parent, and an or, 1s and 0s. I already have videos where I show that in my notes. Putting these in order, you should just have that memorized, quite frankly, in this class. Constants is first, then variables, then functions. Oh, imports was first, then constants, then variables, then functions, then main program. This part is covered in another video. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't send money to the author. I'm not taking donations at this time. But do like the video if liking and disliking is turned on.